Yeah, buddy. Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Billy Barrels, and I'll let Rustin explain that one here in a second. I think uh, was it Christian Moore who gave him the name? Was that who it was?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let Rustin explain that in a second. But we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life, and it has been a busy few days since we were live last. There are two new coaches on the Vol football staff. Tennessee baseball has won 2 games since we last talked, and the Vol hoops team barely won 1 game since we last talked. So, Rustin, why don't you tell everybody why you're Billy Barrels tonight?
Well, I think everybody's got to be excited about what Billy Amick has done coming out of the gate for the baseballs. And Billy Barrels is the nickname that I believe it was Christian Moore gave him. But it's caught hold and it's become who he's going to be known as. I'm sure the NIL T-shirts are already being made. But that kid has come out of the gate swinging, and he is special. I mean, that kid hits the ball hard and consistently, and that's really hard to do.
Eric, welcome, buddy. Good to have you with us. He said, "What's up, Evan and Rustin? I'm here ready for this great show. So let's hear y'all's thought on Tennessee athletics. Go Big Orange." I'm glad to have you with us, Eric. Papa J, welcome, bud. Good to have you. He said, "Wow, great second half. And where did the guns come from against ETSU?" That's going to be something fun to talk about too. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk. Go ahead.
That freshman class, oof, like they were highly touted, but man, they got their opportunity against ETSU, and that's a good ETSU team. And boy, those kids lit it up.
And living up to the hype. We're going to talk a little basketball first. We'll talk about the basketball game against Missouri. And then we're going to talk about the 2 baseball games. And then we'll round it out with the coaching hires. Couldn't think of the word coaching hires. So we'll finish with that. Eric said, by the way, we all think about Eli Drinkwitz as smarting off to Zakai Ziegler. I would wish. So here's my take on that. I would hope that it wasn't true, but the fact that so many people were saying that they could hear Drinkwitz yelling at our players from the front row of the bleachers, that's just sad, man. I mean, let's be honest. Can you see Josh Heupel heckling players on another team from the stands? I mean, that was ridiculous.
I mean, even Shane Beamer, like Shane Beamer, he has enough common sense not to do that. Like, can you imagine? Choose any school in the SEC. Can you imagine any Power 5 head coach sitting at another sport, screaming crap at the bench, at individual players? And even Missouri media is reporting he was doing it. They heard him, and
yep, unreal, absolutely unreal. Mino Likey, welcome. Good to have you with us. She said, "Evening, bros," in chat. Good to have you with us. HC14 said, "Would you guys or your kids get NCAA 25?" So I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I'm going to get that. My son has an Xbox, so my son is going to. I vividly remember playing NCAA college football, 1998. Or was it a? We had Bill Walsh college football too on our Super Nintendo back in the day. But we had, I think it was NCAA football '98. It had Jamal Lewis and T. Martin, and I won like multiple undefeated national championships with that squad. So yeah, that'll be fun to play. Backflip Spaghetti, good to have you with us. Good evening, Vol family. Absolutely. Papa J said, at least as far as Eli goes, it wasn't a shirtless Bruce Pearl.
but at least when Bruce did that, he was in the student section cheering for our guys. Eli Drinkwitz was on the front row screaming at the other team repeatedly throughout the game. And I don't mean like, random stuff. He was very pointedly attacking individual players and picking out guys on the bench and yelling things at them. Dude's worthless.
Apparently, the quote towards Zakai was, why you keep turning the ball over like your quarterback, essentially, is what he said. So unreal, man. Classy move by a Power 5 conference head football coach. Carl said, "Hey, Carl, good to have you, buddy." He said, "Drink is a punk."
Yes, he is.
Drink less, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Eric,
that's the part. That's the other part that was disturbing about it. His 2 young children were sitting right next to him.
sure, absolutely. They're all sharing some popcorn right there at the game. Unreal. Eric said, if he was Missouri's AD, he'd write him up. Yeah, for sure.
Well, except
Can
for
you
one
imagine Danny
problem.
White?
Except for one problem. Right now, Missouri doesn't have an AD, so there's no one to hold him accountable. Missouri's AD just took the Arizona job, which everybody needs to pay close attention to, because why did an SEC athletic director take a lower paying job at Arizona in the middle of a year? There's typically only one reason someone would do that, and that is avoiding the NCAA and potential violations that are about to show up. So just keep an eye on that.
Backflip Spaghetti said, let's talk the remaining schedule and how I think it favors us despite who's on that schedule. So we're going to talk about that schedule. That's one thing we're going to talk about tonight. I don't know if it favors us. That is, they have a murderous row 5-game stretch here. It's not going to be easy, but we are going to talk about that. Tony said, I know what he can do, but Blake Burke needs to get it going. We have other first base options this year. Blake has not started off super hot. I think he's had 1 hit in 5 games so far, maybe 2.
No, I'm looking at it right now. He's 5 for 21.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know why I was thinking just 1 or 2. Maybe that's the only ones I've seen. Maybe that's why I thought that.
He's got 2 doubles and 3 singles, scored twice. I mean, he's hitting 238. Yes, that could be better. But, I mean, we just got done talking about Billy Amick. Billy Amick's hitting 263. His 5 hits have been monster shots that have produced major runs and RBIs. But he doesn't have any more hits than Blake Burke does. They both have 5.
Yeah. HC14 is still pumped up at that NCAA game. He's talking about how when they had the last one, he and his family would fight over who had to beat Tennessee. Oreo Puppy Dog asked a good question. Hey, welcome, Oreo Puppy Dog. Good to have you. It said, what's the NCAA update? I don't think anybody knows. It's gone silent. So, I think people are wanting to know, and unfortunately, there's nothing. It's kind of wild.
Which typically means Tennessee's winning and the NCAA scrambling. When they get this quiet, when they get this quiet and they're not leaking stuff to the media, it means they're losing.
Yep. Eric said, I agree with Rustin. Why did the Missouri AD take a lower paying in a not as good as conference position? Sounds like some NCAA violations to me as well. Good thought, Rustin. Absolutely.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. That was a very weird, the timing of how she left, the fact that she wasn't on anybody's radar to be the next AD at Arizona, and then all of a sudden she takes a job in the middle of the year for less money. That's weird. Like there's some smoke there.
Carl said, Blake at first base has been elite. Hitting will come as long as it's not sliders low and inside. That's Blake's kryptonite at the plate. He bites on it it seems like every time they throw it to him. People know that, and that's why they're throwing it. But he will, hopefully he will adjust. Let's see. HT14 said, not really baseball guys. You think Tennessee could go far in this year's tournament? Yes, 100%. Especially with as deep as their pitching staff is. We'll talk about that here in a second. Eric said, what's y'all's thoughts on Tennessee's lackluster performance against Missouri that night? I appreciate you, Eric. He's trying to get us back on our track. Thank you, Eric. He said it wasn't pretty, but it was a W. Absolutely. So, Rustin, what were your takeaways from Tuesday night? It wasn't a Wednesday game this week. It was a Tuesday night game. Next week is back to Wednesday. So, Rustin, what was your take on the Tuesday night win at Missouri?
Thank the Lord that Missouri is terrible.
Yep.
And I mean really, really, really bad. Like, I mean, that first half set basketball back 30 years. I mean, that was,
Especially the first 5 minutes.
it didn't get much better in the last 15. Like that was some of the worst basketball I've seen in a very, very long time on both sides. I mean, how many point blank layups did Missouri miss in the first half? It was unreal. Um, you know, the other thing that was a little disturbing, I'm glad they responded. I'm glad they regrouped. Coach Barnes going to the double post lineup was a really smart move. I mean, if you're not going to hit shots and you're not going to run offense, then just pound it inside, throw it up on the glass, and let Tobey and Jonas go take care of it. The other thing that really disturbed me, though, Tobey Awaka was 6 for 7 at the free throw line, which is great. The rest of the team, 13 for 20.
Yeah.
That ain't good. And I'll probably tip my hand here, but if Tobey Awaka hadn't shown up to play, we lose that game.
For sure. No doubt about it. And, to your point, the thing I was sitting there thinking about watching the game, thinking about our show, what I was going to say about that, the two things that kept coming to my mind were the whatever in the world that was. The first 4 minutes of the game, both teams scored a combined 3 points. I mean, like it was, I don't know what in the world that was, but I don't think that'll ever happen again in the history of college basketball between two SEC teams. The thing that concerned, go ahead.
The most entertaining part of the whole night was when the teams combined for 3 straight made baskets.
Yes.
And Tom Hart lost his mind on the air.
The seal is broken and now we can't stop scoring. It was cracking me up. The two things that kept coming to my mind as I watched the game unfold that I think if there's anything to take away from that Tennessee fans should be concerned about, it's the amount of turnovers and what you mentioned, the lack of free throw shooting. That's going to get you beat in March.
Yep.
If you miss that many free throws, yeah, it's over. And so, when you get into a situation where it's one and done, and you lose and go home, you're going home if you miss that many free throws. So that was very concerning. Dalton missed both free throws in one trip to the line. That may be the first time all year that he missed both of them in one trip to the free throw line. So, in my opinion, that's the most concerning thing coming out of that game. But kudos to, like you said, Tobey for showing up. Kudos to Dalton for just going absolutely insane in the second half on about a 4 or 5 minute stretch. But it was very, very, and I don't know, I won't say encouraging, but it was good that they bounced back the way they did. But it was also very concerning at how poorly we shot free throws.
And from the arc, Dalton was 3 of 6. The rest of the team was 2 for 15.
Yeah, didn't make a single one in the first half as a team. You can't do that and win in March, that's for sure. So, we'll see what happens. Backflip Spaghetti said that they did come back, so they did what they should have and came back. That's true. Carl said he was happy they bowed up and got the win. Having Drinkwitz back on the camera would have been the worst. Backflip Spaghetti said they did what they should have did. They did what they should have done against A&M Mississippi State. Good team fights back and wins. I get that. Eric said Tennessee should have smoked Missouri that night. I don't get the lack of consistency with Tennessee men's basketball. And Backflip Spaghetti said absolutely. And you know what? I get it. That's been a continuous theme over the last several years, hasn't it? So hopefully that changes. And we got to have it change. Let's see. Mina Laggy said it was not pleasant to watch. Papa J said the assists were good. It was, absolutely.
Is he saying they were good or they're not? Because we only had 10.
So you can let us know, Papa J.
Missouri actually had more assists than we did. Missouri had less turnovers and more assists. We had 10 assists and 15 turnovers. Missouri had 11 assists and no, I'm sorry, we had 10 assists and 18 turnover. Wait, that's not adding up. There we go. 10 assists and 15 turnovers. Missouri had 11 assists and 15 turnovers. So technically, they actually did a better job taking care of the ball than we did.
Oh, Papa J, yeah, assists not good. Gotcha. Like you said, I wondered if Rick Barnes paid Drinkwitz to mouth offs to fire up the team.
I think he's willing to do that for free.
Tony said, I like both bigs playing together. I do too, Tony. I'm glad you said that. I do too. That was good. Seeing Tobey and Jonas in there at the same time. I mean, my goodness, because Tobey was playing so well, Josiah Jordan-James only played 4 minutes in the whole second half. So that was very intriguing to watch both those guys in there at the same time. And it shows a new look that really we hadn't seen much all year long, that we can go big. Jared just said the same thing. Y'all realize Josiah only played around 5 minutes? That's right. Absolutely.
Same for Jahmai. They realized who gave them the best matchups and they just rode them.
Yep. Probably the similar just for Santi. He barely played in the second half as well.
I think the other thing we're getting right now when they do go that double big lineup is we're getting a preview of next year, and they're getting an opportunity to run the stuff that they would be running next year, because next year our guard depth isn't going to be what it is this year, and they're going to go back to a 3-out 2-in system and platoon. There will be a group of Jonas and Tobey, and then their backups will be JP Estrella and Cade Phillips. And they'll platoon 2 at a time, and we're going to see more of that next year.
Right to Vape said 2 players had a double-double, and it wasn't the ones with the most minutes. That was the first double-double for Tobey, and that was very encouraging to see.
I would love to see what Tobey's plus or minus was, because he only played 23 minutes, and his numbers in 23 minutes were outstanding.
And didn't he have like 18 points?
18 points, 10 rebounds. There was one other thing that stood out. What was it? 6 of 7 at the free throw line, 6 of 8 from the field, 10 rebounds, 18 points, 23 minutes. Like, that's crazy efficient.
So Backflip Spaghetti makes a good point here. It's a very good point. So this was the last chance to get for a last game that you would assume that you could get a bunch of minutes for the freshmen going into it. And that's a good point. And then we weren't able to do that. When you look at the rest of the schedule, it is kind of hard to imagine that the freshmen are going to get a whole lot of minutes in the upcoming games. That's a good point. Right to Vape said Adu and Awaka need to be playing more together. After it's hard not to think that after watching that game. Jared asked a good question. He said, does Barnes not trust anyone to run point? It seems like Zakai is playing 40 minutes a game. So I was sitting there thinking that during that game Tuesday night as well in the second half, I was like, has Zakai come out of the game at all? I think he came out for like 2 minutes in the first half, and that was really it. I will say this, though. There was one time Zakai, the inbound, Missouri was trying to press Tennessee. Zakai caught the inbounds pass, and I've never seen, maybe just like a couple other people in my lifetime. One was that dude for North Carolina. I can't remember his name, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, short little point guard they had. Zakai broke the entire press. He went and dribbled through 4 people on his own and then pulled the ball out after he beat 4 people down the court and pulled the ball out to run more time off the clock. It was incredible. Like he just, it was like a guy playing against, like in middle school, how there's always like one kid in the city who's better than everybody else. and he can just dribble past everybody else. That's what Zakai did in that moment. I watched it and I thought, holy cow. I mean, these are Division I players that he just made look like silly. I mean, it was incredible. Carl with probably the most accurate take of the night. Horrible officiating. Maul the Vols, no fouls. Vols, any contact, foul. So the thing that was, go ahead.
The first part of that's true. The second part depends on the time of the game.
Yep.
I mean, just to start the second half, there was a moment about 6 or 7 minutes in the second half where there were 7 fouls on Missouri and none on Tennessee. And Dennis Gates was losing his mind on the sideline. And at one point, he turned his back on the refs and was mouthing to the crowd 7 fouls versus no fouls so that they would start harping on the refs about it. And honestly, he's got an honest gripe there. I mean, it was in a game that physical, there should never be a moment where one team has 7 fouls and the other has none. Like, they were letting those kids kill each other. And the stuff they would just randomly call was just absurd.
Yeah, that was my issue I mean, both teams were just delivering blows on each other and nothing was being that was being let go. And then there'd be like a little ticky-tack foul and they call it. And like, for example, Dalton got credited with a turnover at one point. It would have been in the first half. Guy came down, they brought the ball down the court. Dalton catches it on the wing and dude supposedly steals it from him. Well, when you go back and watch it, the dude totally misses the ball and just rakes Dalton across both arms, not dragging his arms down, which knocks the ball out. And they steal it. And Dalton turns around and looks like this, like, what am I supposed to do? And then, I mean, like, it was ridiculous what they were letting go. East 55, East Junior or whatever his name was.
Yep.
Every time dude drove the lane, he would throw a forearm into whoever was guarding him's face or chest or something. And no, they called it once. They call it Asante got a call one time when they did it. But dude was throwing a forearm every single time he drove the lane, no call.
Yeah.
So that was my thing, was they were letting blatantly obvious major contact go and then not calling the small stuff. And I will give credit to Tennessee's bench. There was one time in the first half it would have had to have been in the second half. In the second half, Tennessee makes a shot. The big tall guy that, oh goodness, I can't remember his name, for Missouri takes the ball out and starts to throw it in, and the guy he steps right on the line, the inbound. I mean, like, steps right on the baseline. I mean, it was obvious. And Tennessee's bench went nuts, and they jumped up. One assistant coach in particular they had to like hold him back. Like, he was like, and I get it. At that point, you're so frustrated. They've missed so many calls. How could you blatantly miss that? I mean, it was obvious. Dude steps right on the line. And, in a game that close, that matters, because that's potentially could be a 6-point swing. What if they go down and hit a 3, whereas if we had gotten the ball back, we hit a 3, you know what I'm saying? So,
and instead of calling the obvious turnover, the ref warned the bench as he ran by. And it's like, do you really think that entire group of people would have reacted in that way just randomly? They all just happened to see a guy not step over the line. So for that official to not in that moment just jog by him and go, yeah, I must have missed that one. No, he turns and looks at him and warns the bench as he runs by. And it's like, are you serious? Like, do you think they just made this up? Like, 15 people on that bench just arbitrarily decide, hey, this is going to be the play where we're going to pretend somebody stepped on the line. I mean, it's asinine. And you're sitting there watching it going, I mean, I say this all the time, but it doesn't matter what SEC game I watch. By the end of the game, sometimes by halftime, I've completely lost all awareness of what a foul is. I mean, it's so incredibly inconsistent. And you're sitting there watching it going, I literally don't know what these people are going to call on any given possession. I can't remember what game I was watching the other night, but Pat Adams made a call. And like, there was a moment where the entire gym was silent because it was such a weird, completely incorrect call that literally everybody in the entire gym was in shock for a second. And they were like processing it. And they were going, did he, what did he say? And then he over exaggerated the call again because of course nobody reacted. So, Pat Adams needs a spotlight. So he overreacted and did it again. And then the whole place started booing like crazy. And it's like, and when you watch it back on the replay, even the commentators are like, yeah, I don't know about that one. Which is SEC Network verbiage for, man, these guys are terrible.
Yep.
It's brutal to watch.
Absolutely. Eric said Tobey balled out against Missouri. Loves seeing it. If he plays like that the rest of the season, I don't think anybody beats Tennessee. So Rustin and I have said multiple times now that as long as Tennessee has two other guys scoring in double figures, it's going to be really hard to beat Tennessee because Dalton's going to get his points. If you have two other guys scoring, then they have a really good chance at winning. And they did that. They did that last night or 2 nights ago. It also has been intriguing the last couple of days. Like Josh Pate had a video come out about this. It was mentioned again today by somebody else. I think Peter Burns maybe today, talking about Florida's football schedule for next year and how it might be the toughest schedule ever in college football. And every time I hear that, I'm like, man, if people had been watching the Vol Bros like 7 months ago, we were talking about that back in last summer, it's very interesting that people should be watching this, I guess, because it's almost like we have a decent idea about some of the stuff we talk about. Let's see. Mino, like he said, Rick Barnes called Zakai his security blanket. Is that who you're saying called him that?
Yeah. Back to Jared's question about does he trust anybody else? Honestly, no. When Santi gets in, he gets crazy with the ball. You can't really know what in the world he's going to do. Jordan Gainey looks extremely uncomfortable at point guard. He doesn't want to be there. And honestly, I think they had high expectations for Freddie DeLeon, and he hasn't met them. So
yeah, that's
no,
true.
He doesn't trust anybody else.
Backflip Spaghetti, you are awesome. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's incredible. He said, for your faithfulness, bros, keep up the good work and go Big Orange. Hey, we really appreciate that so much. Thank you. That is fantastic. You are awesome. Thank you.
Honestly, I think right now, if Zakai got hurt, they would go back to Jemai at the point.
Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said Meshack is the one that he's really puzzled about. Yeah, he didn't have many minutes 2 nights ago.
He's struggling a little bit. Right, he's struggling He's struggling a little bit right now, and as a result, he's pressing. He's trying to make stuff happen because he's frustrated. He just needs to calm down, breathe, let the game happen, go back to doing what he knows. He's been fouling more than he normally does, and it's an extension of frustration. He's trying to make things happen. He'll be fine.
Like you said, I think Zakai is my security blanket too. I like that. Tony asked a good question. All right, Tony, we're going to come back to this one in just a minute because we're about to talk about baseball in just a moment. So I'm going to star this one and come back to it. That's a great question. HG14 said, recently saw mock draft DK was in the top 10. Yeah, he's going to be a lottery pick. No doubt about it. And Carl, he was talking about what I was talking about. Dalton got hammered on that dude just destroying his arms and no foul. HT14 said, y'all think Tennessee could still eke out a 1 seed in March? I do, but I think it's an uphill battle. I'll say that.
I think they got to win the SEC tournament.
And see, that's my issue with it, because I think you're right, but I don't think it's going to matter is the problem. Because if the 4 teams who they currently have projected do halfway decent in their conference tournaments, with the SEC tournament championship game still being on Sunday, even if Tennessee wins it, I mean, they could still be like Nah, we've already got it settled because we saw that happen 2 years ago. The tournament championship did not impact the seeding in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And so as long as that game is on Sunday, it's going to be a disadvantage to the SEC. They have to move it to Saturday. I think the SEC and the Big Ten are the only two conferences that still have their game on Sunday. Everybody else has already moved it to Saturday. The ACC moved it 3 or 4 years ago because they saw that it wasn't helping them. They have to move that game. And so unless somebody in the top 4 really just bombs the rest of the season, Tennessee, could they still make it up there? They sure could. But somebody's going to have to lose 2 or 3 times in front of them to make sure that happens. But yes, they certainly could get a 1 seed. It's just, I would say they don't control their own destiny. Other teams would have to impact that as well. Oriole Puppy Dog said Kentucky needs to beat Alabama this weekend, and Tennessee needs to win for sure. For sure. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said there was an up and down miss last night too. Carl said, well, we know where the football refs go after season. Same guys on the hardwood. Let's see. HD14 said Florida doesn't have a crazy tough schedule, though, in my opinion. If you're talking about football for next year, they do.
Yeah.
They 11 of their 12 games are against serious opponents. They play a really tough SEC schedule, and then their 4 out-of-conference games are Miami, Florida State, UCF, so all 3, Florida schools, and Samford. So the only game and Samford is a pretty good, I almost said 1AA, a pretty good FCS school. So, I mean, Josh Pate, one thing he was talking about was he said he thinks it's the first schedule in the history of college football where every single team on the schedule is predicted to win. The over-under is 8.5 or more for all the teams. I mean, like they got a tough road ahead of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to scroll through these. I'm almost caught up on the comments. Mr. Jones, he said they're probably keeping Meshack fresh for the postseason. I don't know. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said, I know it's tax season, but give these men some green love on the super chats. I appreciate that. Let's see. Jared said, do y'all know what JP Estrella's injury is?
Yeah, he tweaked his left knee. He was actually cleared for the Missouri game. He could have played if they had needed him. They just chose to hold him out.
He's talking about baseball still. I love it, Tony. We're going to talk about it too, man. HC14 said he accidentally looked at this year's schedule. Carl says the Gator Gauntlet. I'd be screaming conspiracy theories if the Vols had that schedule.
What's crazy is it's self-inflicted. I mean, the non-conference games, they scheduled those years in advance. I mean, they brought this on themselves. It's crazy.
That's true. So let's go to I want to do player of the game first, and then I want to do play of the game last. Who was for the Tennessee Missouri game? Who was your player of the game?
Again, I go back to efficiency. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 6 of 7 at the free throw line, 5 of 5 from the field in 23 minutes. If Tobe Awaka doesn't show up ready to play, we lose at Missouri.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice. And y'all can let us know who your player of the game was in the comments. I think that's a really good choice. I'm going to go Dalton just because there was that 5-minute stretch where it was like the greatest show on earth. I mean, like he couldn't miss. It was amazing. It was awesome. I mean, it was just, and you could tell he was feeling it too. That was fun 5 minutes to watch.
The best part was
Carl's,
every time somebody would grab a rebound, they would immediately turn and find him and get him the ball. Like, it didn't matter what Rick
yeah,
Barnes was calling. They were all just getting the rebound, turning and finding Dalton and getting out of the way.
absolutely. And you got to love the fact that after the game in the post game interview, Dalton told the guys at SEC Network that Zakai and I can't remember who the other person was, came up to him and said, "It's your time. You have to take over now." Like, they told him that in the huddle. So I mean, that's think about that as a teammate, and your teammates come up and tell you that.
Yeah,
Man, that'd pump me up, man.
yeah, that's Michael Jordan stuff right there.
Absolutely. Carl said Tobey was his player of the game. I like this choice. Adu Anawaka. I like that. Right to Vape said Awaka. Ricky, hey Ricky, good to have you with us, buddy. Good to have you, man. He said 6 more months till football, boys. I know. I'm pumped too. Backflip Spaghetti said 2 blocks also, but Dalton's streak was fun to watch. Absolutely. So my player of the game was Dalton, but let's do play of the game. And I think that Backflip Spaghetti just gave their opinion on the play of the game was Dalton streak. I'm gonna go. Can I do this one? You want me to do this one first? I'm pumped about this one. My play of the game, literally, I think my family was in the room next to me watching something on TV, and I think I startled them. I got so excited when Dalton, I think it was Jonas, it might have been Tobey, it was one of the two of them. Dalton essentially used them as a screen. They had the ball, they handed it to him, and he went behind the screen. And as soon as he got it, he didn't even take a step. He just planted 2 feet and immediately went up to shoot the ball from probably at least 26 feet out and just drained it. And it was his last shot in that massive streak. And I mean, it was just like, dude can't miss. I mean, dude cannot miss. It was incredible to watch. And when you think about it, what is most incredible is whether it was Tobey or Jonas, whoever, the guy, first of all, the guy who chose to try to go under the screen with Dalton Connect, what was he thinking? I mean, that was
not on any game plan they had written up.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm sure in the film session, they probably paused it in that moment and looked at him and thought, what were you thinking in that moment? Like, what were you doing? Here's one of the best players in the country, one of the best shooters in the country, and you decided to go under the screen. Nice job, buddy. That shot, he made it essentially over 3 guys, his own teammate, the guy guarding his teammate, and the guy guarding him. And he made it from 26 feet out, maybe 27 feet. And it was just like, it was nothing. I mean, it brought me out of my seat, man. I was so pumped up when he hit that one. That was a huge play. What was your play of the game?
I'll defer to Sunday.
Okay.
No, there wasn't. I mean, honestly, there wasn't much to be excited about. The one thing I thought did stand out in my mind, and it wasn't so much because it was a huge play in the game, but it could end up being a big play for the next several games. Late in the second half, they were running and jumping and trying to double Dalton, and he was about 30 feet from the basket and made a jump overhead pass to Tobey underneath the basket for a dunk. And in the moment, it wasn't a huge differentiator in the game. But if you're the next 5 teams on our schedule and you were thinking about doing that, now you're not. Because Dalton sent the message that he is willing to make that pass, and you better not try to run and jump because he will find the open guy. So that could pay major dividends over the next 5 games.
And you know what? Kudos to Tobey for throwing it down, man, with authority. I love the way he attacks the rim. It's fun to watch.
And you know who likes to play run and jump? Alabama and Auburn. So Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl both just saw Dalton make that pass. Changes the scouting report.
Let's see. Right to Vape said Dalton or somebody had a good block taken away as well. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they called a foul and it was all ball. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember who that was.
It was Dalton. It was an awful call. Had his hand completely on top of the ball. And even when they showed the replay, the announcers were like, whoa, yeah, that's not good.
Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said Vescovy steal and save on the out of bounds. That was a good one. Absolutely. That was a good one. Let's see. Mr. Jones said Dalton's streak. Dalton's Creek. And then, streak. Let's see. Carl said that run by Dalton was special, but Awaka gave consistent play the whole night. Absolutely. That's a great choice. Absolutely. Backflip Spaghetti said double Dalton, please. I like that. He said double Dalton, please. Like he said, Alabama likes to play WWE based on last night. Yeah, they sure do. You're right. Well, you know what cracks me up?
If the SEC doesn't do something about that,
all right.
Oh my word.
So good. I'm glad you said that. So about an hour ago, maybe, if that, it may have been less than that. I don't know. What is it now? 9:04. Okay, so we've been going for 43 minutes. So about almost 2 hours ago, the SEC said that they're gonna suspend that guy for one game.
One game?
One game.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And apparently that dude's averaging like less than 5 minutes a game right now. So essentially, dude comes in, drops an elbow on a guy below him, like he said, like WWE, and they're going to suspend him for less than 5 minutes, essentially.
What's crappy about it is, like, it wasn't it wasn't like he just, accidentally came down the dude. Like, you can literally see him size him up and make sure he takes him to the back of the head. I mean,
yeah. Absolutely. He dropped right on him. Like he looked down and knew where he was going. You're right.
That's garbage. Should have been at least 3, maybe the rest of the season. I mean, they talk about player safety being the priority, and we have all these stoppages in games to check for flagrant fouls. And did he make contact with his head? They call a flagrant one if you accidentally make contact with their head. This dude literally sized this kid up and tried to take him out, and they give him a 1-game suspension. That's ludicrous.
Backflip Spaghetti, this may be the best comment of the whole night. So the SEC only suspends that dude 1 game, but Alabama fires their radio announcer because, and I quote, he wasn't living up to the standard. And I'm like, man, like that shows the level that we're at in college athletics. That's a good point. But that's what Bama said while they fired him. He wasn't living up to the standard. And I'm like, wow. Oreo Puppy Dog said definitely Tobey for his player of the game. Right to Vape said, do officials go to a school or something before they have to referee SEC games?
Supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly. They should. If they need to revisit it, that's what they need to do. Like you said, it wasn't just an elbow, it was also a knee, and that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. So yeah, those are good. Those are good. I like that. Well, let's move on to what Tony was talking about, because Tony had some great points here. He said, I know it's just 1 game, but how did y'all like the freshman shortstop last night? And Tony mentioned him, my man, Reese Chapman. He said Reese Chapman made a great diving catch in right field. Man, Tony V's boys are fun to watch. So I've been on the Reese Chapman, hype bus for a little over 1 season now. And it wasn't for his defense, it's his swing. Reese Chapman, okay, Blake Burke has clearly a beautiful swing. It's Ken Griffey Jr.-esque. We've talked about that for 2 years now. Reese Chapman, when you watch him swing the bat, it is like an instructional videotape in motion. He has an absolutely beautiful swing when he's at the plate. And so the fact that you have that guy on the bench right now and he's not one of your best players shows how potent this Tennessee baseball lineup is. Y'all, they got some dudes who can hit the ball. I mean, like it is exciting. Um, let's see. Oh, Ricky said, Rustin, we got to get you some Vols memorabilia behind you for a good backdrop. So what's interesting is Rustin has a beautiful print, panoramic print. He's looking at it, panoramic print of Neyland Stadium in front of him right now.
I've
And his
actually
wife,
got balls. I've actually got balls memorabilia on pretty much every part of this room except the wall behind me.
yeah, Rustin's wife was like, "You need to put that on the other wall so people can see." But it looks great. It's a great shot. Eric said, "Oh, he's saying Toby was his player of the game. No other person deserves it more." Absolutely, totally agree. Carl, hey Carl, I know you're all about the Vols baseball talk, man. I know you're about it. He said Curley had an epic start, but with the amount of freshman pitchers and players that played, it shows the health of Vol baseball. Oh man, you just hit the nail on the head, Carl. Absolutely. Jeff just asked a good question. Jeff, I'm gonna come back to yours here in a minute, buddy.
Yeah.
Rustin, tell us your thoughts on the two games this week.
3 or 4 weeks ago, Tony Vitello was doing an interview and he made the comment that this is the deepest group of infielders he has ever coached anywhere. Dean Curley looked fantastic last night. It was great to see him. We got to see Reese Chapman do his thing. We got to see Matthew Dallas and Dylan Lloyd do their thing on the mound. There were so many guys that contributed last night. Guys coming off. Colby Backus comes off the bench and drops a monster shot. Just
Curley
so
had
many,
a home run too, didn't he? Or am I making that
and
up?
a triple. He was 2 for 3 with a home run and a triple. But here's the craziest part about that, and people have already forgotten it. Ariel Antigua, another freshman, had won the everyday shortstop job before this season ever started and got injured.
Yeah.
Okay. As good as all these guys are that they're platooning in all these spots, Ariel Antigua had already beaten out all of them. We hadn't seen him yet. He's still injured. The depth is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even catcher. You've got guys back there like Cannon Peebles, Dalton Bargo, Stone Lawless, Cal Stark, Charlie Taylor. Once they get into SEC play, I don't know how they're going to keep all these guys happy. I mean, there's just there's only so many spots, and they have so much depth at every position. It's just unreal. They are very healthy for years to come. This freshman class is absolutely loaded. We saw Derek Schaefer the other night. He was highly touted. They went and got Marcus Phillips. We talked about him the other night. He got an inning last night as well. That joker walks in at 6'4", 6'5", throwing high 90s. Long, lanky kid who's still growing into his body. He'll probably touch 100 before he leaves. You got Nate Snead in the bullpen who's throwing 100. It is a wealth of riches. They can do anything they want. They can play any style they want. If they want to play gorilla ball, they can load the lineup up with power guys. If they want to play speed ball, they can go small and fast. It's really impressive.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the catcher position. I'm glad Carl mentioned it too, because when you think about last year's team compared to this year's team, well, like you said, there's drastically more depth all over the place, but probably no position had more radical of a change than catcher. Last year it was a liability in the lineup. I mean, let's be honest, not defensively, but offensively, it was a liability. Cal did a great job defensively. So did Charlie defensively, but neither one of them, they were hitting ninth all season long because it was almost a given that it was the 9-hole hitter was going to be an out, which is never what you want. That is totally the opposite now. that they are deep at catcher. They have offense. I mean, my goodness, Cannon Peebles. I mean, they have. It is a strength instead of a liability now, and that's a huge deal because there are no holes in the lineup. You know, last year, watching the games last year, anytime it was late in the game, especially like in the in the super regionals and stuff like that, when it was late in the game and it was close, automatically we start thinking, okay, so are they going to pinch hit for Cal Stark? You know, I mean, like we're thinking that as in between innings, like what are they going to do here? Are they going to leave him in? Are they going to pinch hit for him? We don't have to think that anymore. There are no holes in the lineup. I mean, Rustin made a good point yesterday before the game started. He texted me and my dad, and he said this is their 5th game, and they've used 5 different lineups. And when you think about yesterday, Hunter Inslee was batting 9th. You had a second leadoff man in the 9 hole.
Blake
think about
Burks.
that.
Blake Burks hit everywhere from 2nd to 7th.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. The end of their lineup yesterday, you had 2 guys, Dylan Dreiling and Hunter Inslee, hitting back to back at the 8 and 9 holes, who at times last year were both leadoff men. So you had just, let's say you get through the power section, which is really 1 to 7. I mean, think about the lineup yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Christian Moore was hitting leadoff. He was the cleanup hitter last year, and he's hitting leadoff right now. So you have just this ridiculous amount of power, 1 to 7. And then you have to turn around and face leadoff power hitter again when Christian Moore comes up. I mean, it's unfair. It's incredible. And I'm glad to be a Tennessee fan. That's for sure.
Dylan Dreiling hit 2-hole all weekend, then hit 8-hole yesterday. You know, if you're scouting Tennessee, you can't get comfortable with any lineup because you never know. You know, you can't go out there and say, hey, you got 8-9-1, let's just get out of it. 8 and 9 may be our 1 and 2 hole hitters who are just decided to hit at the bottom of the order this game.
Exactly.
There's no letdown. And, you know, I'll go back talking about catching depth. I'll go back to Stone Lawless. Stone Lawless was a perfect game All-American. He's one of the highest rated catchers Tennessee has ever signed. He hasn't played yet. We're 5 games in, and he hasn't stepped on the field. Not a pinch hit, nothing. I mean, when you've got perfect game All-Americans not sniffing the field because you have so much depth, that's hard to beat.
Can you hear that siren outside my house right now?
No.
Oh, something's going down out there, man. Let's see. Tony said Blake Burke has a sweet swing, but sometimes when he strikes out, he looks terrible. That is true. He chases pitches sometimes that you're just like, dude, if don't waste swings. That's what kills me. Don't waste swings. You only get a few of them. Make them count. And especially, like I said, sliders down and in. That's his. He loves them, but he can't touch them. That's the problem. He attacks them all the time. When he does connect with them, they go forever. But it's rare that happens. Eric asked a good question. We'll come back to that in a second. Backflip Spaghetti said, I don't watch enough baseball to keep up with you boys, but I'm listening. I'm a Vol fan across the board. Even ROTC gets my love. There you go. I love it, man. Carl said, can't think of his name. Most consistent batter last year, also played some catcher out of need. I'm trying to think who you're talking about, Carl.
It was
also
pretty
played
much
some
Cal
catcher
Stark all the time. You're talking about 2 years. Evan Russell played it 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about that one too, Carl. I'm trying to figure that one out. Let's see. Right to Vape said you cannot scout this team right now. No, because it's just, you're right. I mean, there's too many different options. Carl said no, it was last year. Oh, Jared Dickey. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, Jared Dickey.
Yeah, that's true. They would roll him back there some.
Yeah, good call, Carl. Yep, that's exactly who it was. Hopefully he's doing well in minor league ball right now. Papa J mentioned Chase Burns. He's with Wake Forest right now. That's right. Let's see.
Tony had a little comment after the game last night that was
He
clearly
did.
a shot at Chase Burns, veiled to be about Christian Moore. I love how he picks and chooses his battles. Like if he gets a chance to make a comment without making a comment, he will absolutely jump on it.
Yep, that's exactly right. Papa J said to have a stud freshman shortstop, great to have. And you know what, Papa J, that's what exactly. That I'm so glad you said that, because Rustin's exactly right. They got two of them. Think about this. Think about this. I mean, okay, so now we're going back to what Rustin was saying was, how do you keep all these guys happy? All right, well, think about what they could do if they wanted to. Up the middle on defense, you could have Antigua at short, and Curley at second, and DH Christian Moore if you wanted to.
Well, I mean, next year when Christian Moore goes pro, that will be the starting middle infield. It'll be Antigua at short and Curley at second.
I mean, that's but like Rustin said, it's a plethora of riches. I'm so glad that I think it was Tony mentioned. Yeah, it was Tony. He mentioned Curley's big day as a debut. Man, it's storybook stuff, right? I mean, like true freshman, and I think what happened at the beginning of the game really helped him defensively. He got tested defensively twice in the first 2 innings. Balls were hit at him twice, and he fielded them confidently, smoothly, got the outs, no errors, and that was a huge thing. Huge start. I mean, it's your first ball hit at you in college, and you make a clean play, no mistakes, strong throw to first. It's great. Turn 2 at some point initiated a double play in the first inning. So I mean, like, those are things that are simple things, but they set you up for success, in the future and building your confidence. And so you got that happening defensively, and then he comes in and hits a bomb in his opening, his first game as a Vol. I mean, the storybook stuff. I mean, it's incredible. Wyatt, good to have you, buddy. He said, "What's up, Vol Bros? Good to have you, man." Jeff said, "Coach Vitello mixes up the lineup early every year, searching for the best one or most productive, I assume." Totally agree. 100%. I think that's exactly right. JL said that's it. I think he agrees with Jeff. Absolutely. Right to Vape said, "Yep, you moved the other great shortstop to second." Absolutely. They have so many options of what they can do right now. It's really, I mean, it's really something special. And let's be honest. I mean, so they played 2 teams this week. They were both good teams. Like UNC Asheville historically is a very good team year in, year out.
Yeah.
They beat them in a close game Tuesday night, home opener. And then last night they beat ETSU team who had been playing very well.
Yeah.
Had they lost? I don't think they had lost before that game.
No, they were 3-0, and in those 3 games they scored 55 runs. And so they came into that game averaging 18 runs a game, and we hit them with 3 freshmen, a transfer junior, and a redshirt freshman. I mean, that's crazy depth.
Absolutely. What a nice thing to have, right? Yeah, Carl just said the same thing. 55 runs, 18 on average. Absolutely. Carl said, "I love that Vitello said that the outcome of the game doesn't always show the work and effort these guys put in." Absolutely. Totally agree. Tony said, "Probably have a few catchers transfer after the season, too many to play." So Cannon Peebles will get drafted probably.
Yeah, Cannon will go pro. Cal Stark will graduate. So, that leaves, I think Dalton Bargo was probably told that. He was probably told, hey, for a year, you're going to be a DH, float around, play some other positions. But once those two guys are gone, it'll go back to a 3-man rotation with Dalton Bargo, Stone Lawless, and Charlie Taylor.
Hopefully nobody gets antsy and leaves, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Right to Vape said you'll find out a lot about the coach the next few weeks, sorting out your starters. It'll be so to that point, it'll be interesting to see who pitches on Sunday. Who's that first guy on the mound on Sunday? That's what's going to be interesting. Have we seen? I don't think we've seen Kirby Cannell yet this year, have we?
No,
I didn't think so.
I would not be. I think they're probably using him as the closer. I would not be surprised if by the time we get to conference play, Matthew Dallas might be that Sunday starter.
Elijah said, "What's up, Vol Bros? Tune in a little late. Our baseball team looking good. Also, I love how the basketball team won a game where the shots weren't falling. We lose that game the past 4 or 5 years. That's a good point. Absolutely, that's a good point." Papa J said, "Going to be hard to keep everyone happy." Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
I think the positions that you probably have to be concerned about with transfers, and again, sometimes if you just have a lot of depth, it is what it is. But some of those middle infield spots, a kid like Camden Bates, not sure how long he's going to be around. The third string third baseman, not sure how long that kid's going to be around. There's so much depth there. It's going to be hard to find the field.
And what's wild is Zane Denton's not even with the team right now.
No.
He was supposed to be the starting third baseman. So let's see. Elijah said, granted, it was Missouri, but still not making the 3 in the first half and still winning is impressive. Absolutely. Carl said, Vitale said after the games, pitching changed their plans for Sunday.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see who takes the ball first on the mound. I'll be very interested to know who that is.
I think that
ahead.
Sunday starter is going to be a revolving door for about a month. I think it's going to be an open audition for multiple guys, and they'll just see who fits in.
So Jeff asked earlier, he said, I may have missed it, but I was wondering if you all spoke about Coach Der Stupid hollering at Tennessee players like a clown. Yeah, we did. With his 2 children sitting right beside him, actually. Not a good look for a Division I head coach. Not a good look. Not a good look for a high school head coach. For any person that's a head coach, for that matter, not a good look. But I don't get it. He wins on the field, so people put up with it, I guess. Eric said, "What's y'all's thoughts on what will happen with the NCAA investigation?" I mean, unfortunately, I don't think anybody knows for sure, but I don't think the NCAA has a leg to stand on.
Nope.
So I think they've shot themselves in the foot with things that they've said publicly and trying to retroactively apply rules that you just can't do that. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. Tony said, got to get one football question in. Y'all surprised by new assistant coaches? So that's actually our last topic of the show here. Elijah said, did you guys see what Zakai supposedly said? Yeah, we did. Let's see. Right to Vape said, if Vitello starts getting pitchers down in the best lineup, look out, you could get a 20-win streak with this bunch for sure. Because they got enough bats to, if somebody's not hitting well, they got enough bats to fill in for them. Mr. Jones said the NCAA is the one being investigated.
Yeah, they really are.
And Big Orange Vol said, welcome, or hey, Vol Bros, or okay. I must not be cool. I don't know what WTW stands for. Do you know it? I don't know. What's the word, Vol Bros? I don't know. Okay, somebody help me out and tell me in the comments, because apparently I'm not cool. What does, if it's something horrible, then just don't tell me. Yes. Hey, I was right. What's the word? How about that? He said, yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. I was right. See, I'm hip. I'm cool. I'm down with it. Carl said, Vitella made a comment that redshirt rules are not the same as football as it is for baseball. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. I need to find that out. Let's see. Linebacker doesn't have enough Southern contacts. Going to hurt us. He may just be a great linebacker coach. May just be a great recruiter, regardless. Elijah said, Evan the hipster. That's right. That's right. So the last topic of our evening that's been alluded to here is within 12 hours, Tennessee made 2 coaching hires, both of which were Tuesday afternoon, I believe. My days are getting away from me. I think it's Tuesday. So honestly, out of nowhere, even some of the VolQuest guys were surprised. They're like, this was out of nowhere. I mean, like it was like, oh, hey, we got 2 coaches. One of them, which I mean, you know what? And I mean this sincerely. Kudos to Heupel and the coaching staff and the athletic department for conducting a search, finding people, and no one knew anything. Like, what is that about? Don't they know this is Tennessee? Like, we track planes here. Kudos to Josh Heupel and the athletic department for making this happen. And it sounds like they got the guys they wanted, which is another good thing. For the running backs coach, Darrell Sims, coming from Cincinnati. Austin Price was talking about he is a high energy guy that the players will love. And then coming from the University of Washington, we have William Inge, William Inge, who is the new linebackers coach, veteran coach. DeBoer actually wanted to bring him with him to Alabama, and apparently Tennessee made him an offer that he couldn't turn down. And so from Washington to Alabama to Tennessee, we have our new linebackers coach. And my goodness, I think you have to be excited about that as well, with that pedigree and success behind him. So what's your take on the 2 new football coaches?
Well, I'll start at running backs because I think that was the one that, I mean, they were both a surprise, but I think William Inge was a surprise for a different reason. But, Darrell Sims wasn't really on anybody's radar. But when you look at his coaching background, I mean, the guy has coached all over the Southeast. Like, he's got recruiting ties in Tennessee, the Carolinas, Virginia, Kentucky. I mean, he's been everywhere. He's coached under Scott Satterfield at Louisville. That's a toughness program. He coached running backs for 3 years at James Madison. That's a toughness program. He was the running backs coach at Carson Newman. That's a toughness program. He clearly is a hard-nosed grindstone guy. It fits perfectly with the running back room that he's inheriting. It's a bunch of hard-nosed butt kickers. He's going to be a really good fit with that group. I think they went out looking for somebody who had the personality of their running back room. And I think they did a really good job finding that guy. The Inge one is fascinating to me because it makes 0 sense. That guy was with DeBoer at Fresno State, then followed him to Washington, and then followed him to Alabama. But there was one major difference at Alabama. You have co-defensive coordinators at Alabama that didn't come with them from Washington. Clearly, this is just my opinion, but the timing of it's too weird. Clearly, they didn't see eye to eye. Like, I think he got to Alabama and was like, I don't like these dudes. I don't want to coach with them. And probably put some feelers out privately. And when Tennessee saw an opportunity to snatch up a huge veteran coach, I mean, you're talking about a guy with, people were commenting about him not being a recruiter in the Southeast. Well, he's recruited the entire Midwest, the entire West Coast. He's coached in the NFL. I mean, you've got a guy who literally, I don't know that there's a state in the Midwest or the West Coast that he hasn't recruited. So he's got insane recruiting ties in areas of the country where honestly the best linebackers come from. And he's got NFL experience. So he's got the ability to talk about that as he's recruiting. 20-plus year veteran who has been successful everywhere he's been. I think they saw an opportunity to snatch up somebody that was a home run, and they were like, we don't care if this guy fits our staff or not, we're getting him. It's wild.
Mr. Jones said NCAA equals never could accomplish anything. Big Orange Vol said, I can't wait till fall comes around, but for now, we need to enjoy some Big Orange basketball and baseball for sure. Mino, like he said, can you tell us what Z said?
Not on the air, but you can Google it.
At the risk of being of losing our monetization status for this episode, no. But he said that the main thing was he looked at Drinkwitz and said, "Man, I don't even know who you are."
and then he added a couple of choice words on after that. But
a four-eyed, large individual, we'll say that. Carl said something to the effect of playing in so many games cannot redshirt about the redshirt rules. It makes me feel a different kind of happiness that we steal a coach from Bama for the same spot. For sure. I get that for sure.
Not only that, but a coach from Bama who has been with the new head coach for his last two stops. Like, this guy clearly was traveling with Kalen DeBoer and got to Alabama and was like, nope, don't like this.
Yep. Something weird happened for sure. There's no doubt about that.
And you know, the guys that he hired as co-DC, both of them are extremely strong personalities. So it's very possible that William Inge got there and was like, I hate these dudes. I don't want anything to do with these dudes. I'm sure not going to spend every waking moment with them and put his name out there. I've never seen anything like it.
Elijah said that Darrell Sims is going to be a home run hire. Big Orange Vol said, I wish Alex Golish was still our offensive coordinator. I get that, but I would say wait till this season and see what happens this season. Because really, Josh Heupel is the offensive coordinator, and he has been really for the last, ever since he got there. But
wait till 2 years from now when Alex Golish starts funneling us really good players through the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'd say hold off till this season just to see what happens this season. Right to Vape said that he thinks the limit is first appearance at the plate or on the mound on a redshirt baseball, and you're burnt. Mr. Jones, thank you for that, Right to Vape. We appreciate it. Mr. Jones said he was given an offer. The offer he couldn't turn down was Tennessee over Alabama. Backflip Spaghetti said linebacker coach, great. Running back coach, work in progress, but very high ceiling. I think that's a fair take. I think it's a very fair take. Absolutely.
I will say this though. Darrell Sims coached under Scott Satterfield. Scott Satterfield is a run game freak. Like he will not tolerate his offense not being able to pound the ball at any given moment. If he was running backs coach under Scott Satterfield, he's good. Like, Scott Satterfield will not have somebody coaching that position that isn't great.
Jeff said, Inge is going to have a lot of knowledge about DeBoer's offense and tendencies. He's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point. That is certainly an advantage for Tennessee in that situation. I totally agree. Right to Vape said the medical redshirt for baseball is 30% of the season played before injury. Past that, it's burnt. That's good to know. Thank you very much, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some interesting stuff going on in the comments. Let's see. Hey, Zach, welcome, buddy. Zach just got here. Good to have you, man. He said, am I too late?
Missed a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. But to end the show. Oh, thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. He said, player of the game. Okay, for sure. And he said, baseball's better than what some people thought. I mean, they're good, man. There's no doubt.
If anybody thought they weren't really good, then they don't know baseball. Like, this is the most talented team Tony Vitello has ever had.
And I'd say, you know, to go along with Zach's point, the freshman class they're living up to the hype big time. They're playing better than we could even hope for, really. Big Orange Vault said spring and fall time are my favorite in East Tennessee. It's beautiful. I agree, 100%. Absolutely. Well, to finish out tonight's show, I'm going to share my screen here because we're going to look at the next 5 games on Tennessee's basketball season. So here, I'll zoom in so everybody can see it a little bit better. So this weekend, Saturday night, 8 o'clock in the Food City Center at Thompson Bowling Arena. It is a checker TBA night. And so make sure if you're going to be there, make sure that you find out the color shirt you need to wear. It is a revenge game, no doubt about it. Don't make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is payback time. Texas A&M coming in for the evening recap at 8 o'clock, the nightcap there. Then it does not get any easier. Auburn comes into Thompson Bowling next Wednesday night. And then next Saturday, Tennessee has to go to Alabama. Then another revenge game the following Wednesday at Columbia and this time South Carolina. And then to end the season back in TBA with Kentucky. So absolutely huge last 5 games of the season. We got 2 weeks of the season left. And so those 5 games over those 2 weeks are going to be huge games. There's not a weak game on that schedule right there. So absolutely just really tough 5-game stretch. So hopefully we go 5-0. We'll see what happens. It's good to hear. It's good to hear the guys when they're asked about this season, their goals. They're not talking about, and this is a good thing in my opinion. They're not talking about the Final Four. They're not talking about the Elite Eight. Right now, if any of them, when they get asked about their goals right now, they say we want to win the SEC regular season championship. That's what we want to win. And that needs to be their goal right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that that's what they're saying. That means that they have the right mindset. Let's see. Some of the comments that came in. Zach said, love you guys. Always love watching the show. Absolutely, man. Hey, we love you too, Zach. We're glad you're here, buddy. Elijah said, did you guys see Vitello throw some shade at Chase Burns? Yes, he sure did. Almost kind of went out of his way to say that little dig there. Carl said, yep, only team in SEC to go to College World Series 2 of the last 3 years. Yep, and they legit have the roster to get there again. Especially if their pitching staff keeps throwing well. They got to figure out the day 3 starter. I don't think Xander Sechrist is going to be the guy. But if they can figure out that day 3 starter, they're going to be good to go. Big Orange Vault said tomorrow or Saturday night is going to be a bad blood game. Absolutely. Zach, I love it, man. Zach's like 5-0. Let's go cut them nets down, baby. I love it. If they do that, if they go 5-0, they do cut the nets down. I mean, that's the reality of it. They win the SEC regular season championship if they go 5-0. The two most important games of those 5 right now are Kentucky, and the most important game is Alabama, because they currently have a 1-game, or I guess you could say a half game advantage on Alabama having the head-to-head. If they beat them again, there's no way. That's a huge deal. Elijah said, wish we would have saved Checker for Auburn. Yeah, I get that. Let's see. Let's see. Elijah said we have to go at least 5-1 in that stretch in order to win the regular season title. Well, it's
He
only
meant
5
to
games,
say-
so 4-1.
He meant to say 4-1.
Oh yeah, there it is, right there, 4-1. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that they have to. I agree. If they don't, then I agree. Mr. Jones said if we win all 5, we'll be in 1 seed. Maybe. I would like to think so, but it depends on what happens to all those other 4 teams ahead of us right now. Unfortunately, I don't think we control our own destiny in that regard. I think some other teams are going to have to lose at least 1 or 2 games. If they go 5-0, it would be tough to keep them out of the 1 seed line.
Depending on, I'd have to see how the quad 1 wins stack up. Depending on where they would rank South Carolina at that time. If we went 5-0, there's potential that could be 4 quad 1 wins. Depending on how that stacks up with like Houston, I could see them leapfrogging us over them.
Right now we're 5-5 in quad 1 wins. So that would make us 9-5, maybe 10-5 if we go 5-0 here.
I'd be
quad
curious
1
to see
wins.
what Houston's record is in quad 1.
Yeah.
That they put a lot of value on that late in the season. I think we can absolutely go 4-1. I think we can go 5-0 once I see who the officiating crew is for that Alabama game. I mean, I'm serious. Like Alabama, when you go to Alabama, just ask Florida. Calls seem to go their way in that place.
For sure.
There are moments, and like during that Florida game the other night, there were moments when I genuinely felt like the refs were afraid, like they were fearing for themselves, and their calls started reflecting it. If Pat Adams is on that crew, Lord help us. Like that's an L. We're gonna lose that game.
Zach said, if Mr. Win. Mino Lackey's response to that 5-game stretch was, let us pray. I like it. JL said, is Pat Adams the ref for any of them? We don't know yet. That's a good question. We don't know. Big Orange Vol said, I'm going to be super fired up to get the win over Texas A&M after the way they acted. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you got to think that the Taylor kid is not going to shoot the ball as well as he did, because I don't think anybody could shoot the ball as well as he did that one game. So that obviously is going to help, Tennessee favor them. Backflip Spaghetti said, I want to lock the world out and play ball every game with motivation and expectation. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like they gotta focus, man. They know what's at stake. If they win out, they're the SEC champs, and they know that. And that's, I think if you ask any national commentator, they're all going to say the SEC is the best overall league in the country this year. Seth Greenberg said that the other night when he was asked that. And if you're the SEC champs, that means something a little bit more this year than it just means more, right? It means a little bit more this year because it's a tough league. Zach said, Rustin's being so patient with us. He needs to sleep. I know, I'm yawning too. Carl said, 2 seeds not bad. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Elijah said, if we win all 5, it's another 4 quad 1 wins. We will be in 1 seed no matter what if we win all 5, honestly.
Maybe.
What if something crazy happens and if we win all 5, we have 2 rounds buys in the SEC tournament, which means we start in the quarterfinals. What if we lose that game? That doesn't look good. I think if we lose in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament, even if we win all 5 of these, I think if we lose that game, it knocks us down to a 2 seed. So I think 2 seed is the floor right now. But I hope they're, Elijah said Houston is 9-3 in quad 1 right now. Backflip Spaghetti said, I want 5-0, but 4-1 during that stretch, most likely. Big Orange Ball said, please, let's finally make the Final 4. I hope so. It just depends on matchups, but I hope so. Carl said Bama bias? No. Backflip Scotty said the Bama influence is slowly fading. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said, good night, y'all. Hey, we appreciate you joining us, buddy. Thank you so much. And thank you again for that super chat. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Elijah said, got to think we're on are right on the line for a 1 seed. I agree with that. Yes. I think right now we are the highest rated 2 seed. And so if someone stumbles in front of us, then yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, this has been a lot of fun. And y'all know we love this. Y'all know we love talking with y'all. We hope everybody has a really great evening. Saturday night, 8:00 p.m. That's on ESPN. Tennessee plays Texas A&M in Thompson-Boling Arena. Obviously, just a huge game. Just a huge game. And so Elijah said, so if we get 4 more quad 1 wins, we jump whoever's ahead of us. Maybe, but it depends on what they're doing too.
Yeah.
Big Orange Vol said, if we don't even end up making the Sweet 16, loving the Vol is just a different feeling. Absolutely. Right to Vape said, get those Dalton autographs now. Absolutely. That was cool. Apparently, there was a lot of photos that came out after the last home game of him staying for almost an hour afterwards, signing autographs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that was not the first time he's done that. Apparently he does that after every single game. So that's really cool. JL just hit the nail on the head. Texas A&M is not going to shoot 65% in Thompson-Boling. He's exactly right. And that's why you got to love Tennessee's chances tomorrow night or Saturday night.
Yeah.
Carl said, we love this, bros. Thanks for making this happen. Hey, we appreciate you, Carl. It's fun talking baseball, isn't it? So I hope everybody has a great evening. It's so cool, that the community that we've got here, because like Carl just mentioned, like I know Carl loves Tennessee baseball. I know he's seen every game for the last 3 years, and that's cool that, I know that about a guy who lives in Florida, and we're connected via the Big Orange. So it's cool, man. Let's see. Go Big Orange said, good content, guys. I'm out. Good night, all. Hey, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Elijah said, Vols win 85-60. Man, I'd love that. That'd be nice. Let's do that. I vote for that. Yes. Right to Vape said, only show I watch is here. Hey, I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. Very, very cool. So we hope all of you have a wonderful evening. Hopefully everybody will be with us Sunday night, 9:00. I mean, you think about what we got going on Sunday night. We'll have quite a bit to talk about. We're going to have, obviously, a recap of the Texas A&M basketball game. But we got a whole series, 3-game series against Albany this weekend that we'll be talking about on Sunday night. So
softball has 6 games on the West Coast.
So, I mean, there's going to be a whole lot to talk about. Elijah said, night, guys. Thanks for the show. Hey, we appreciate you, Elijah. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for joining us. So we hope everybody has a great evening. You know what? Just because tomorrow is a baseball game. Well, oh, whoa, Jeff. Thanks, man. Hey, we appreciate that so much. Jeff, so thanks, guys. Good job. $10 super chat, man. You're the man. Hey, thank you. Really, we really, really appreciate that. That is awesome. But tomorrow night, since we have baseball coming up first, we're going to end the show with our baseball outro. So hope everybody has a great evening. Mino, like you said, I enjoy the show so much. Thanks, bros. Hey, we appreciate you, Mino, like thank you so much for joining us. And for everybody else who was with us tonight, thank you so much. We had people on all 3 platforms, X, YouTube, and Facebook. So we appreciate you all so much. And we look forward to talking with everybody soon. Carl said baseball. So I hope everybody has a great evening, and go Vols, baby.